Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Restitutor Orbis live stream for the evening. We're going to be discussing stunning technology photos from the 1800s and beyond. So let's see who we have out there. Hey, Brown Dwarf. Hello, there he is. Looks like the Joker. Sky Sage, good to see you. Magic, welcome. Lady Cilantro, thanks for joining us. Hello, Adam. Quantum Paradox, good to see you. Hi, Magic. Chassis, good to see you could make this one. Hello, Celeste. Jamie, good to see you, brother. Who else have we got? I think I've covered everybody so far. Hi, Many Fires. And go ahead and say hello if you're out there right now. Hey, Kathy, good to see you. Adam Baum, good to see you, brother. Gemma, good to see you. Dave M, welcome. Shelby, welcome. Mariana, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Who else have we got? Devink777, Scott, Luck and Love, welcome. Tony Bashimi, thanks for joining us. You're not related to Steve Bashimi, are you? I had to ask that question when I saw your name. Oh, does my laugh sound disingenuous? Hey, Laura, good to see you. Yeah, apparently I'm not supposed to laugh. I'm not supposed to interact with you all. People don't like it when I say hello, and, I don't really care. So anyways, we're going to jump right into the live stream, and we're going to be taking a look at some stunning technology photos from the 1800s. Yeah, exactly. It's the usual suspects. So, all right. Well, it does sound like kind of a cool name. So what can you say? We're going to be looking at stunning technology photos from the 1800s and beyond, and I'm just going to confide in you all now. The reason I'm saying these are photos from the 1800s is most of these photos are not, but yeah, exactly. But they're actually all pieces of technology that we're looking at that were supposedly innovated in the 1800s with some notable exceptions, although there's a lot of photos from that particular time. Ah, yes. Howard, good to see you. Okay, so does anybody know what we're looking at here in this initial image? Hey, Vince, thanks for joining us from Ireland. And let's take a little closer look here. And so what do you think of this? Looks to be a bit of a religious artifact, but does anybody know exactly what this is called? Oh, you're right, Quantum Paradox. It's actually a bit of a joke on my part because, frankly, all this stuff, essentially everything, came from before the 1800s, but they certainly like to tell us that it did come from the 1800s. So, St. Chronic, good to see you. Yeah, it does resemble a crown, doesn't it? Okay, do I have any former practicing Catholics or current practicing Catholics out there? If I do, then one of you all might know exactly what this particular object is. Yeah, isn't it intriguing? Well, you're onto something there, Jamie. It does go on a shrine, or it does tend to appear on an altar. Oh, some of these comments are great. I like that one, Adam Baum. Yeah, it does kind of look like the Pope's crown, doesn't it? Jackson, good to see ya. Oh, there you go. Yeah, happy helmet. Just put a smiley face on it with some funky jewelry. Oh, there we go. We have a winner right there. Sovereign, invisible, untraceable. You are correct. It is a monstrance, or actually a monstrance, but I've heard it called both ways. So does anybody know what a monstrance actually does? That is the official term for it, although let's be honest. Yeah, I'm with you, Daryl. I mean, could be a weapon, could be pretty much anything, but it is officially a monstrance. And does anybody know what a monstrance or a monstrous, depending on what pronunciation and what dialect you're using, is used for in the execution? Yeah, it's a fun word to use. Execution of Catholic Mass. What's a monstrance used for? Oh, there you go. Okay, so officially, it is used to sanctify the actual act of communion when they put the bread there before it is endowed with the Spirit of Christ, according to the Catholic ceremony. Yep, there you go, Cat. There you go, Sky Sage. Absolutely right. And that's exactly what they say that it's used for. So they'll put the little piece of bread right here in the middle, and this is where it receives the Holy Spirit and is endowed and sanctified before they actually serve it in Mass, if those of you who are familiar with Catholic ceremonies. So, well, it's all good, Julia. Glad to see you could join us. Yeah, it's always interesting things going on, so never a dull moment. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, but here we are and not stopping, so. And it could well be. And we're going to take a look at some different examples of the monstrance, but yes, this is where they sanctify, bless the actual bread before serving communion. Oh, what do you got there, Chassis? Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. But let's step back from what we're told its official use is. I just thought I would share that initially. What do we think some of these aspects mean with these monstrances? Now, typically you see them sitting on the altar. And let's look at some other ones. Now, here's an interesting looking one. What do you think of this one? Good to see you, Barrick. Yeah, and that's a good one there, Lady Cilantro. Yes, they do look like crown jewels a lot. They have quite an image and appearance to them. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Why the opulence indeed? Why do we always have the opulence associated with the church? Why are the buildings so well built? Why do we have all these different aspects? Oh, look at that, Rebecca. Yes, it does reflect a portal, doesn't it? Hey, good to see you, Random FX. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, you're right, Adam. You can never get enough Catholic items. Oh, good one, Isaac. Yeah, Beyonce's hat. Maybe so. Picking up energy. Exactly. Now, there's been a lot of different theories for what these monstrances could really represent. Are these some sort of control device, an apparatus that may have hooked into the original cymatic control of what the cathedrals or churches were originally for? It's safe to say, though, that there are no shortage of monstrances out there across the land. Ah, there you go, Jamie. I'm with you on that one. Yeah, focal point of some sort. And a sun portal. Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Head Honcho. Yeah, there you go. There he is. You're right. You're seeing a reflection of the sun. Now, the official explanation will be well, because that's the origin of Christianity and all the major religions, the worship of the sun. And of course, that's always a get out of jail free card for the explanation. Hey, Ishko, good to see you. Yeah, maybe. It could well be. We just don't know. And, that's a good call out there, Julia, because that's actually where it calls back to as well. Yeah, no doubt about it. To some people, we certainly are. So let's look at some others. Now, this is a very intriguing one. And this is why I featured this one on the thumbnail. But what do you think of this one? Yeah, it definitely does, doesn't it? The crown jewels, and now you're seeing it in religious ceremonies. And yet, none of these monstrances are rare. These can be found at every single Catholic church you go to across the land, whether you're in the little one in Petersburg, Iowa, or you're in the Vatican, at St. Peter's, where they actually do Mass and actually show Catholic symbols, unlike the Papal Auditorium. But we won't say anything more about that right now. Ooh, that's a good one there, Isaac. Well, thank you, Random FX. I appreciate that. Yeah, exactly, Sky Sage. Now, we see the different types of metals that are associated with this, whether it's gold, silver, platinum, or something along those lines. Sarah, good to see you. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't let me forget Mexico, and they've got some very unbelievably stunning churches down there too, and of course they are prominently featured there. So, yep. Well, and that's what I always want to see with it as well. Is good to see you, Jacob. But there seems to be a bit of an amalgamation of religion with a lot of the old world symbols. It's as though that what remained of the old world, whether it was technology, symbols, or even operations of society, it all seemed to come back in many different ways. And that's exactly how we see it represented here in the monstrance. So, yeah, well, and I think, though, that actually you see a lot of representation of stargates. If you actually go into Catholic churches or cathedrals or whatever, and you look around, you look up on the ceiling, or you look at all the symbolism, not to be confused with symbology, although this is a case where symbology does apply, and you'll see that it does represent a lot of the aspects of the old world and everything else that is reflected in it. Now, is this actual technology, or is this some sort of controlling mechanism for technology? Well, let's look at a few more. For example, what do you think of this particular one? And what always gets me is you often see this, we'll call this starburst, sunburst pattern. And yes, there's a reason why I feature it as the symbol on the channel. So, well, thank you, Miss Honeybee. I appreciate that. Oh, yeah, Daryl, that was a pretty decent show, too. I was glad Stargate came back and lasted as long as it did. And that's exactly right, Sarah. There certainly has. And that's one of the reasons why I reflect that. No, it does not have anything to do with reflecting any symbols from that organization we all love to talk about. And right there, Julia, I think that's what we're actually seeing is that it could potentially be some remnant of a control apparatus for how they actually channeled the power, whether it was cymatics or energy, to the cathedrals of the churches. Oh, there you go, Kathy. Yeah, of course, of course. And then there's also the reason why we see churches as holy places and why people can be healed there. And that's a good consideration as well, Rebecca, because you see geometric precision even in these monstrances. So, and keep in mind that it's featured on the altar, which is always at the heart, if you will, the center of any church or cathedral. Well, maybe it could have served a similar purpose back in the old world or what we were originally looking at, and we just don't know. Yeah, and I think there's a strong likelihood with that as well, Jamie. Let's go to the next one. Got a couple, don't worry. This is a very interesting looking one, isn't it? What do you think of this? Does this remind you of something? Yeah, I definitely agree with that, without a doubt. Oh, what do we have here? Well, actually, there's evidence they've been doing it much earlier than that, but yeah, that's when it seemed to be rather well known. Yeah, it's kind of what it looks like, doesn't it? And yet you also see this structure reflected in a lot of the architecture. You know, we know what they tend to call this style. Anything that looks like this, it's Gothic, and that's the big hand wave to cover basically any structure from 900 AD. Excuse me, 900 ACE. I just felt like doing that because no one can yell at me anymore. To 1800 ACE. So, and yet again, we refer to Led Zeppelin. Kathy, how does Led Zeppelin always make its way into these live streams? I just don't know. I think it is some sort of energy collector without a doubt. Oh, yeah, Isaac, without a doubt. Oh, and you know what? And I saw y'all talking about Mercury and Red Mercury, and I think we're going to do a live stream that's just going to be focused on Red Mercury here coming up. So, well, look who's back. Thanks for joining us, Eric. Like the new symbol, too. That's pretty cool. And you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, Rebecca, because it can go either way. You know, it could either be a unity vibe, a cult vibe. The thing about a symbol or even any word is we can associate anything with it. We can make it a positive, a negative, or a neutral, or something all in between. Yeah, I would say it's something from the fourth era, Edward. At least that's what we call it on this channel. But, maybe you have a different theory. So good to see you, villain, squared circle, oracle, beat yourself up. The names just always send me cracking up. Well, let's take a closer look, shall we, Julia? What do you think? Some interesting figures on this one. I'm kind of reminded of those figures that we saw in the Plumber building in Rochester at the Mayo Clinic. Yeah. Once again, we have small individuals holding up a lot of weight and not Atlas. And then more of the symbols up here. But then here's where you see this familiar symbol on either side. So we have a classic cross up here. And remember, cross can also represent a three-dimensional grid, but then you have the greater cross that represents the four-dimensional grid or the tesseract. Oh, yes. And that's something I haven't gotten to on the channel yet, is really talking about that, the concept of teleporting and portals. We've alluded to it. So, oh, yeah. Open cube, open tesseract, and you'll see that featured in a lot of the symbolism. So, and why does it keep coming up? Oh, yeah. Well, form does help with function. I mean, and all the alternative researchers talk about it. Why would you go to all the trouble doing all this kind of detail, whether it's a large building or a small monstrance like this that goes on the altar? What's really the purpose behind it? Those are the kind of thoughts that we need to have and look at. Now, this is a very different one. What do you think of this one? Yes. Form follows function. Oh, good one there, Robert. And welcome, Robert. Thanks for joining us. Yes, an antenna. And you'll see that as well, along with, atmospheric energy collectors, the concept behind it. And we see it on a lot of these surviving old world buildings. Yeah, that's the official explanation we'll be given. There he is. Uh, yeah, I really think that it is something along the concept of a resonator. Don't worry, we'll be looking at some pipe organs too. I collected some really fine ones. So, oh, cathodes, yeah. And you see that, and there's a reason why I've assembled these images that we're looking at in a particular order, and there's a reason why we're starting with the monstrance. So you may not think of this being anything that represents any sort of technology, and we'll be told, no, it's merely a religious device, and it serves a ceremonial purpose. That's all it is. Hmm. Oh, yeah, an early version of it, quite possibly. Most of them tend to be made out of some very special material, Rebecca. Now, personal ones that I've seen, they're typically made of gold. We've mentioned the other ones, silver, platinum, or like we talked about on last week's exploration with Old World Exploration, we talked about how there might be materials that we haven't even identified yet. And so we just don't know. It could be something even, dare I say, more elaborate and valuable than gold. Although, what's really the value of gold? Or are we just looking at something that represents a different material that was from the past? Is it an alloy? Is it a synthetic? Was it produced in some other way, shape, or form that we don't know of? There's all kinds of theories that go around with it. Oh, there's a good one. Well, and you might recall earlier years, we heard more church bells quite frequently. There were church bells that were going off, and you'd hear them every Sunday, and they had a unique effect on both the psyche of the individual and, I don't want to say spiritual well-being, but yeah, it did promote spiritual well-being. So, well, Denise, I really appreciate that. Watch out now, my laugh might be disingenuous. It might not be a genuine laugh. Okay, I'm just warning you all. I've been warned. My laugh is not genuine. Some of the things you hear, you just have to laugh at. Yeah, I'm with you, Magic, and it's one of those things you don't think about. You don't think about, well, we don't hear bells so much anymore, but when you do and you actually hear a genuine older bell, I mean, I'd be honest, I would love to hear the Tsar bell out of Russia. I'd love to hear what that would sound like. And even when you can find those new old bells and the sense of comfort that they give you when you actually hear them ring, and then when they ring in a different format. Oh, or whether they're synchronized or not. Now, here is where you can get the explanation. Yes, we'll feature the host or the bread here, and this is where it is transmuted and ceremoniously becomes the body of our Savior, as we're told. Don't worry, Ishko. I don't take it personally. I share it with you because I think it's important to understand the tactics that are used to try to stop our explorations. And believe me, I've seen everything. And it's not all negative. A lot of it's actually positive. Now, you might be asking, well, wait a minute. How would they positively try to stop you? Believe me, there are plenty of methods of positive reinforcement that are far more effective at controlling behavior than many negative ones. It's not all stick, it tends to be a lot of carrot. Thanks for joining us, Marilyn. Yeah, I think you could see that, Jamie. I can definitely see that. Definitely a transmuter, a control device of some sort. Yeah, it does look like a golden reef, doesn't it? Okay, Rebecca, that's got to be one of the best ones I've heard so far tonight. Well, of course, because materialism and actually having a material appearance is what it's all about, right? uh, Yeah, that's interesting you bring that up, villain. I might have to do just an exploration on church bells too, and actually play some legitimate sounds for everybody. Even though they're digitized, you can't hear the original ones. There's something about hearing the original ones with your own ears, not having it be digitized and then rebroadcast on your computers. Yeah. And there is something a little bit grotesque about some of these when you consider the opulence with them. Like this one, for example. Funny, great timing on that comment. What do you think of this one? Yeah, and I think there's something with that as well, the concepts of magnetic waves and magnetic energy and what we have with that. Oh, yeah, Sky Sage. I mean, gaudy. We're not referring to the Antonio type, are we? Yep, the Zarbel. Looked at it on a couple explorations, Quantum. It's quite intriguing, and I said I'd love to hear it ring. Oh, yeah. I'm with you on that one, Jamie, especially with the coloring on it. This looks like something we'd expect to see in the Papal Auditorium, don't you think? You know, that building that just happens to look, dare I say, a little reptilian. Exactly, Rebecca. It does look a lot more chaotic, doesn't it? Now, think on that. What if they had different devices that could have different functions? So you have the more orderly, geometrically precise ones. And I know you don't like that term, and that's fine, but it's how I describe it. Or you have more of the chaotic ones and they could have different effects. You know, maybe you had a series of these that could induce a different effect depending on what was really going on. So again, just something to think about. Yes, yes. A little bit of a rosacea gold there, maybe. And what do you think of this one? So comparing and contrasting with what we just saw. Hmm. Isn't that interesting, huh? Again, having the full halo. Lots of circles, so lots of orbises. Well, that's okay. What's our real story? I'm glad you could join us now. It's a recurring theme. We'll work through it. It's all good. Yeah, there you go. And you know what? There's a lot of truth to that, Adam. Hey, do y'all remember that scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark where they went into the map room and that's where they were going to find the actual location of the Well of the Souls in the city of Tanis? You remember that scene, Raiders of the Lost Ark? No, I didn't get an image from it. Bad, bad, Lucius Aurelian. But I'm sure you remember the scene where they put the headpiece on the staff of Ra. Yep, there you go, Robert. You're one step ahead of me. Hey, I am Kairos. Thanks for joining us. And that's exactly right, Sarah. And we see the solstice tools used frequently and often. And I think that's interesting about them as well. Oh, yeah. But I think there was actually an inspiration for that entire scene, that was actually playing out something that was accounted for in some different older historical books. Yep, there you go. I'm Kairos. Good old John Reese Davies. You know, he just made an appearance too on channel member content when he was playing King Richard and Robin of Sherwood. Great episode. I recommend you check it out. The King's Fool. Yep, that's exactly right. Wrong measurement. And don't eat the bad dates either. Go on to the next one. Okay, now this is interesting because here, the base of this one kind of reminds me of that plague column we looked at in Vienna, but then you have the typical top on it. So let's zoom in here and take a closer look. What do you think of this imagery here, these figures? What's this saying to you? Oh, we'll get to that, Rebecca. We'll get to the tech crown. I just want to focus on the figures here. Ah, yeah, definitely. It does appear like a sun gazer. That's a good one. Well, it's a combination, Nora. Some of it's from some of the archives, some of it's from the old university sources. It just depends. I tap into a little bit of everything. Some I find in the Library of Congress, and I'm not joking, I do. It is interesting how there seems to be a very polarized reception to them. They either look like they're very, dare I say, demonic or something very benign. It just depends. So we're told, Sarah. So we're told, and you know the architecture could back that up, but we don't know for sure. We don't know how the lands were arrayed or how things went down in the past, especially with geography. I think we're kind of cling to geography a little bit. All right, let's go to the top. Since you're all asking. There you go. Now, what do you think of the top? Maybe map projection. Yeah, no doubt about it. Hey, Tara, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Well, and that's why I always wonder, you know, and it's like anything else, Tony, that we're told is scarce. It's valuable because it's scarce. At least that's what they tell us. And, you know, they always give us that excuse. Well, if we ever found an asteroid or a meteorite made all of gold or diamond, then it wouldn't be valuable anymore and it would wreck the economy and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, it gets a little bit old, doesn't it? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it looks like a mirror, doesn't it, Precision Rifleman? But what's supposed to be in the little window there is supposed to be where they put the bread, and that's where it's going to be blessed before serving it in communion. At least that's the official explanation. Now, does this have some other use? That could be quantum paradox. That could be. Now, if you actually look at some of the artwork in the Atlas Majora, where we saw that the sun beaming light down towards what's either an angel and then an angel reflecting it to a cherub and then a cherub catching the light, does it reflect something else? Yes. And we do see a lot of biblical auras too. Something along those lines. That could be a portal as well. Now, this one is very interesting because here, what do we have on this? Oh, look, another 4 ones. Who needs IV, right? I swear that comes up on everything. It's not even funny anymore. I was talking about that with Old World Exploration last week, how we always see the 4 ones, we never see the IV. Well, it's kind of funny you say that, Sarah, because when you actually look deeper into places like the Vatican, yeah, I would agree. Look at the Papal Auditorium if you want to see creepy. Yeah, exactly. Nope, nope, no IV here, random FX. Ooh, an eclipse projector. Yeah, quite possible. Go watch Lady Hawk, that film with Rutger Hauer from the 80s. You'll actually see an eclipse in the film. It's actually part of the plot. Ooh. Now, isn't that an interesting theory there? Now, I haven't explored portals just yet, but we're going to be getting to that. Now, let's look at these figures down here. What do we have going on here? Oh, there we go. Well, and that's always the reason they give us, Brett. And it's just like that with oil and everything else. Ah, yes. Maybe chassis, maybe. We just don't know for sure. It's a great movie, Julia. I strongly recommend it. Yeah, the soundtrack's a little Alan Parsons project, but it grows on you after a while. Yeah, and maybe it does look like this was added later, doesn't it? The clock. Oh, there's our good familiar symbol. Can't go a day without seeing that, or a minute. And then the top. Now, isn't this an interesting one? So we'll scroll out a little bit and then zoom in. What do you think of this one? And it's interesting just all the dynamics behind him. Oh, I agree with you, Lady Cilantro. It definitely is. It's a matter of perspective. No, it definitely doesn't. It definitely feels like it's added. So, yeah, well, I'll date myself here. I actually saw it in theaters. So, hey, maybe they're going to replay it. They're actually going to be replaying Dune here on its 40th anniversary, the David Lynch version, which I'll dare say is my preferred version of it, but that's just me. Hmm. Is it? It's a good question. We just don't know. Ah, Sky Sage saying it properly as always. Yes, but is that something that's controlled or is that something that we consent to? Hmm. Yeah, it's one of my favorites too, Don Don, even though people just seem to despise it for some reason. And I don't think you can beat the soundtrack on it. Oh, yes. You noticed that, Julia. Let's zoom in on that. The little eye in the triangle. Or is that what we're seeing, or is it something else? We have a circle. And we have some circles on the outside. It's a bit of a unique symbol, isn't it? Indeed, it is. Well, that's what we're trying to figure out. What's our real story? What is in the center of this one? Yeah, porcelain or maybe something else. Very, very true. Now, this is another one of the more, dare I say, sinister looking ones. What do you think here? Uh-oh. You getting all mad at me? Well, that's okay. Hey, Dwayne, good to see you. Yeah, I agree. The one that they aired in the late 80s, since you got me talking about Dune, so. Well, we could make arguments for that, although not every aspect of it, I think, is as, direct or as polarized as we like to think. Ooh, that's a good one, Rebecca. Beetlejuice, oh, don't say it, don't say it. Maybe, or maybe it's an entirely different entity than families. Hmm, it does bear a striking resemblance, doesn't it? The old runish symbols, runes. Well, of course, Tony, and that's what the evidence constantly says. Oh. Yes, Sky Sage, Rosicrucian. And if you remember the video Ancient Enemy, we looked at a little bit of a theory from the Hyperion world about how bad that could be with the nasty cruciform, the parasite. Yes, it all comes full circle. Mithra or sun idols? Yeah, it does appear similar, doesn't it? Speaking of, since y'all brought it up in the last old world movie connections, I did watch Ice Pirates again, and I forgot that the planet that the quote unquote Templars were from in that movie franchise was called Mithra. Wonder why. A lot of interesting symbolism in every science fiction movie. Of course, I also forgot that Ron Perlman was in that movie. It was an early movie for him after he played a caveman in Quest for Fire. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of roses, aren't we? Now, what do you think of this one? Getting a little different here. So we'll look at this bottom to top, and then I'll zoom in on a couple different aspects of it. Hmm. Again, we have more of the, we'll just call them receptacles here. Very interesting configuration, though, on this one. We'll see, Sarah. We'll see. Things are in a state of flux right now, so we'll look to get to it sooner rather than later. Tabernacle. Absolutely right, Robert. Yeah, this one does look like a puzzle box, doesn't it? The sun, as it was originally depicted, gold. Older depictions, you will see the sun depicted as gold. Hey, May, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Ah, yes, alchemical symbols, absolutely. Yeah, and you know what's interesting, Ishko, is that you see different forms of art. You see geometric art on this one, but then you also see free-formed art a little bit more. So I think that's a very unique combination that we tend not to see very often when we look at these pieces. Oh, yeah. It does come up, doesn't it? Oh yeah, Brandos, and guess what? He also discovers that floating island. We're going to be exploring those here pretty soon. Oh yeah. All right, see if we have any more. Okay, save the best for last. What do you think of this one? Now look at the bottom and the base here. And then just see some of the intricacy in this. Now, really, are we to believe that these all had the exact same function? That we have this kind of variance in our monstrances? You know, and you have to ask, then how come they just didn't have a typical monstrance, or a standard monstrance? Hey, I want to order the standard monstrance from the Vatican, have it sent to my little church out here in Mexico or Iowa or wherever the heck I am. Yeah, you probably did. I am Kairos. Hmm. Well, and these are just one of those little details that we tend to overlook, quantum paradox, and I'm very guilty of it because we get wrapped around the bend looking at buildings and coming up with theories, and Sometimes we just need to see different things that are right in front of us all the time. Hmm. Very interesting comment there, Rebecca. Maybe someone trying to emulate something that's a little bit beyond their ability. I can see that, especially down here. Very, very interesting. So, what are your final thoughts on monstrances? Wouldn't that be funny, Adam, if that's all they are? Yeah, just some old world lamps. Here, get your old world lamp. It's ready to go. Yeah, resonator, control devices. I mean, I think that's what they actually are, but who knows? Maybe it could simply be that device that you just held that connected you to the actual church or the overall apparatus of what the church or the cathedral was. Oh, yeah. From Beyond. Oh, yes. Great movie there. Good to see Wei Yun before he was on DS9. Also had Barbara Crampton in it. Wonderful movie. Now I'm going to have to watch that again. Thanks, Jamie. Well, you could buy all kinds of replicas everywhere if you want to. What's our real story? Actually, I recall going to Holy Hill in Wisconsin, and you could buy them in the gift shop, underneath the big church, the basilica they built on Holy Hill, because they had a gift shop there. It's not a basilica without a gift shop. Remember that. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't built to last, so there you go. Okay, give me 1 second here. Let's see where we're going to go next. Okay. Oh, no, wait, no, wait, no, wait. I know. We'll go to organs. All right, give me 1 second. Switching. Share screen. And what do you think of this organ? Yeah, exactly. Those pesky pagans again. Yeah, I agree with you on that one, Precision Rifleman. Well, thanks, Edward. We're glad to see you here. Now, this is a real one. This isn't a phony image or anything. And why do they like their organs? And I think organs follow on the monstrance very nice because we're talking about how we think that the churches and the cathedrals represented technology and what was the control mechanism for it. Aha. Exactly. Son with a U and not an O. It's not. It's not. It's just not the best of pictures. That's the problem. Does anybody know where this is? Here, let me go to a better one. Okay. Maybe, maybe, maybe. Just order it, Julia, from Amazon. I'm sure it's available. Oh, very good question there. Yeah, I'd agree with you on that one, Kairos, or something along those lines. Could have been for anything, magic. I mean, weapon, device for construction. I mean, the ability to project cymatics gives you all kinds of capabilities. Yeah, exactly. Good call out there, cross-threading. Yeah, lead pipes for sure. But then look at some of these intricate designs here. We've seen a lot of organs in different explorations, but I've decided I've pulled out some of the very best ones I've seen. Yeah, that's a good song. There weren't copyright issues or concerns. I just play that while we're looking at this because that's a great song for it. Exactly, Rebecca. Now, just imagine, yeah, healing sounds. Imagine with that capability of cymatics. And so that's why you have this association of these buildings being spiritual places where people go to actually be healed. Oh, Wayne, welcome. Good to see you. Oh, look at you. I am Kairos. Yeah. See, and this is why you show yourself to be one of the greatest on the ground explorers because that's only someone or that's only something someone who gets on the ground a lot would know. You have to get that intuition when you actually get out in these buildings and you feel this. Yeah. Old world directed energy devices, healing devices, accessing portals. It's all on the table. Yep, very true. Or maybe even something we don't fully understand. Hmm. Well, definitely as part of them, what was their original intention? Yeah, I think we all do. Let's go on to the next one. Now, what do you think of this little ornate dealy? I don't use that word often, but when you got columns underneath it, and then you've got what looks to be gigantic fasces all lined up here. This is one of the most ornate ones I've seen. Yeah, exactly, Celeste. Music was a side benefit. Organs to help your organs feel better. Can I, Rebecca? No, that's one of the talents I do not possess. I can appreciate music, but I am not a musician. I am certainly not. Hey, Pete, thanks for joining us. Cruise your F-117 over here, buddy. Give me some recon. Yeah, that's possible too, Don Don. Yes. Isn't it funny how it overlaps so completely, Adam? Without a doubt. Take a look at the next one. You know what we really need to do? We just need to go on a walking tour and actually go experience these and hear them play. Well, yeah, because what else could dragons be? Oh, a conjurer. Yes, 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 yes. I may have a few more experiences than I let everybody on, but I assure you, I'm not a musician. That is not one of them. So, oh, good question, Adam. Conflicting accounts abound. Now, if you go and you watch the Vienna video and look in the comments, there was somebody there who played the organ, and they could assure me that they were constructed when we were told that they were. Mm. Oh, yes. And who liked to say "Wake the Dragon"? Merlin on Excalibur. Hey, Andrew, thanks for joining us. Oh, yeah. It does, doesn't it? A little bit. But yet, oddly enough, they don't have an organ in there. Wonder why. Probably. Or we acquired them through some other way, or they were left over, or maybe there's a different nature to a lot of these buildings, and I haven't covered it yet. I know, bad or really, I need to do some more explorations. Now, I'll admit, some of these images do seem like they're almost unreal, but I mean, this one, when you just look at all the detail behind these organs, and then you look at the construction of the structures around them. Now, granted, we're focused on the organ here, but still. Yep, we'll go on our little tour and we'll just charge on in there and play it. It'll be a lot of fun. Ah, yes. Spellcasting, conjuring, using cymatics, or perhaps even something else, alchemy, as we would call it, to produce some sort of other effect. And you can go to many of the structures we've been to and actually explore these, see them in person. If you're in Minneapolis or St. Paul, okay, I'm trying not to talk about Iowa, okay? I'm trying to get help on that. You can actually go into the churches and see these. Yeah, just needed a horse, Rebecca, one single horse, and that's that. Well, you know what? It may be time to explore music too, now that you talk about it. I'm all in on it. Okay, so here you go. I included this one so you can see that this is a real image. This isn't AI or anything like that. Just to give you an idea of how it's laid out in the structure, the whole organ. Well, yeah, if you're in the United States. We're going to build a mighty cathedral and we're going to build a mighty organ and put it up there. Oh, yes. It certainly is. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Hmm. Honest answer, Ishko, I have no idea. I mean, I can't even give you any idea how long the fourth era lasted, you know? I mean, I'm just guessing. And I certainly don't trust the chronology that we're given. I mean, you know, these things could be much older than we're told. Quite possible. Ah, great observation there, Luck and Love. Yeah, I agree. Yep, unfortunately. Hmm, I don't know, Shelby. Maybe it's just something that they programmed in different parts of the realm, so or maybe it was just something they added later, we don't know for sure. Mm, yeah, it depends, maybe. It depends. Yeah, it's definitely one we need to go see in person. I've got it tabbed for an on-site exploration, so don't be spoiling it by asking me where it is, okay? I'll still post it on Reddit, and you can look at it yourself and do a reverse image search if you're so inclined. But it's going to be a good exploration, without a doubt. All right, let's get to the next ones. Let's go to the mighty fountain. You'll like this one, and I'm sure some of you have seen this before. I know John Levi's featured this one before. Okay, can everybody see this? Yeah, exactly. Field trip across the land. Get on the bus. Yeah, I agree as well, and I think that's why that's an exploration that needs to come up here pretty soon. Really looking at music. Now, what do you think of this? Does anybody know where this is for starters? Still has a nice nifty fence around it. We're told it's a fountain. Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a power generator or resonator of some sort. Ah, there you go, Robert. You are correct. It is in Germany. Does anybody know what city in Germany? Now, you can actually find several of them all over the place, but the most prominent one. Good question, Windy City Dreams. And I'll just go ahead and say, I don't know. Were they made with some advanced geopolymer? Were they made with some other technology? We're not sure. Yeah, that would have been my guess. Yeah, there's a lot of them actually, but the prominent one that we're looking at is in Nuremberg, Nuremberg, Germany. Yeah, shields up. Definitely looks like it, doesn't it? It's okay. It's okay. You know what? Every city in Germany probably had one at some point. You know, just like every city had a star fort or geometrically precise foundation structure. I know it drives you nuts when I use that. So, yeah, look at the detail on this. Not the best image, but we've had that discussion before when I try to use. Okay, I'm going to take a risk here and use a better image because I really want you to see the detail on this. Yeah, fountain. From medieval times, 1400s, depending on what sources you look at. Of course, that's questionable as well. Oh yeah, Tara. And Japan does too. Everybody should have a star fort. And everybody does, it seems. Yeah, I think it does too, Kairos. Shulk, good to see you. Go to the next one. Here's a painting of it. Yeah, I got the pop guard on, don't worry. Hmm. There we go again. Living in the fourth dimension. Isn't this an intriguing structure back here? Yeah, that's how I often feel when I look at these myself, RB. Oh, yeah. Antenna, resonator. I mean, this is definitely something that looks like high technology, though. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And then looking at the very top of it, and just look at this kind of ornate detail. And again, here you have the representation of the tesseract or the fourth dimension, and it comes up a lot. So that's okay. I'm sure we can forget this video being pushed because of these fine images, but it's worth it for you to see them, and I don't really care. Good one. It does look like a Tesla coil, doesn't it? Careful, Robert. You got me wanting to play Command and Conquer all over again. Oh, yeah. Super spark plug, RB. Yeah, that's what they'll tell us, Nora. It's gothic. You can't get enough gothic. Oh, yeah. Without a doubt. Okay, let's go on to the next series of images here. I've got more. Don't you worry. All right. And this follows up quite nicely on what we've been looking at. Stop sharing. Share. Share. All right. Think you all know what this is. Yeah, exactly. Important stuff going on there, right? Oh, yeah. We are well familiar with this particular object, aren't we? Now, compare and contrast, and I know it was John Levi, it was Flat Earth British. A lot of other explorers have come across it. And I am Kairos. I know you've come across it many times as well. The theory that the organs were really the larger devices in the churches and the cathedrals, and then the fascists represented a handheld device or fasci or something you could carry around. And yet we know how this symbol has been converted and turned into. Yep, he sure does. Let's take a look at some of them. So this is what people traditionally associate it with. Some very interesting looking Roman who's just lugging one around on his shoulder. But an interesting theory that I heard with the fasces is that it may have been an acoustic weapon, or maybe it was, think of sort of a jackknife, if you will, a device of technology that could do all sorts of interesting things. It could be a weapon, or it could be a construction tool, or it could be a survival tool, or all the above. Wow, that's really high praise right there because The Terror is actually a great show. Featured that on the polar exploration. Oh yeah. So let's take a look at some more. So here's one with old George Washington, and yeah, doesn't this just look like something he should just be lugging around? You know, the really large one. And I just zoomed in on it. It can, and it's funny how it's shaped just like what we consider a Gatling gun or a minigun now. Yeah, many different uses. It could be. It could be. Or it could have other uses as well. And what are they really looking at in the stars or the sky with the telescope? That's another question. Yes, without a doubt. Now, this is one a lot of people haven't seen, and this does represent a different kind of fascist. And I don't know, have you seen this one before? Has anybody seen this one before? Oh, yeah. They just tell us that they were used as a symbol of power by the Romans, and that symbol has endured, and they don't even say why. You know, it's supposed to represent authority. Like, okay, symbolic, just like the monstrance. We get that explanation a lot, Doctor Boss Awkwards. Well, if you ever go in the Capitol, that's kind of how he's depicted, Celeste. Especially when you look at some of those paintings in there. Oh yeah, I am telling you what I think, and sometimes you have to come to your own conclusions. Where's Benjamin Franklin telling me what to think and what to say? Oh man. You know what, Rebecca? It probably could. All you have to do is you just configure it the right way, and that's what this handheld device could be. So it could be a weapon, it could be a construction tool, or really it could pretty much do whatever you need it to do. Not to say like one of those magical matter transformers on Star Trek or a replicator, dare I say. But you might remember when we looked at the Twata de Danann, they had a device similar to that. So there you go. But no, I'm not telling you what I think about it. Exactly. Blueprints? No, not that I've seen. Yeah, Tuatha De Danann. Don't say it incorrectly. Otherwise, my old Irish colleague will come charging me down. And believe me, he's going to be very ruthless to me. He was in the past. He still stole my coffee and cookies from about 15 years ago. Never gave them back. Yeah, it does kind of look like a Pez dispenser, doesn't it? Now, I featured this version of the three of them before in the technology explorations. I always like this one, though. Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. It does, doesn't it? The He-Man movie. Oh, yeah. All right. So, done with Fasces. Let's go on to the next one. Don't worry, there's more. There are always more. And you'll recognize these as well. And let me get this up here. Share screen. What do you think of this doozy? Yeah, Stargate, definitely. Rocket launchers. Oh, yeah. Well, and you know what? What's our real story? Maybe it actually motivated that use for the development of the original Gatling gun. I think the Civil War technology video survived. Pretty sure it did. Yeah, it's only a model. Does anybody know what this is? Oh, magic. You got it. It is a dynamo. Okay, that made me laugh a lot more than it should have, villain. The first VCR. Now, what do you think of something like this? Imagine the infrastructure that would have been required. Remember, the dynamos are what were considered the first generators of electricity, so we're told. But how exactly did they build them so large with limited time to get that infrastructure off the ground? And keep in mind how quickly technology developed, so we're told, according to the official account, in the 1800s. Yeah, there you go. Ooh, yeah, that's an idea there, Adam. It does look rather large and ungainly like that, doesn't it? We got one of those we're looking at, Mystic. Yes. I do wonder on that count too. But when you look closer at this, you can see it's a little bit more complicated than initially meets the eye. So is this something that they just had sitting around, or did they have some old blueprints? I mean, look at these individuals. Everybody's all nice and dressed up. Now, yeah, they're just posing for the publicity photo. Fine. But, what's really the story behind it? Hmm. That's interesting, isn't it? Easy to generate power. Well, we have to think about what we're told how power generation started. Called Oompa Loompas. Yeah, I think so, Robert. Pre-existing, or they had something and then found some sort of plans or something remaining. Yeah, hard workers, no safety standards, infinite money. Few robber barons controlled everything, including logistics, so it was all doable. Yep, 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 yep. Oh, yeah. I tried to showcase a video on that one too, and that went down like Arnold Schwarzenegger telling people to screw their freedom. So, yeah, good question there, Pete. I guess you're supposed to have a F-117 you just fly up to and then you parachute down to it. Let's look at some others. Seen this one before. I featured this on the technology video. Again, wondering how they constructed these very large pieces of, these devices to make these dynamos. And then, of course, they did it flawlessly and quickly, like everything else in the 1800s. Yeah, exactly. My thoughts exactly. Go gadget arms, yes. Because how exactly would you construct all the components to this? How would you transport them? How would you assemble them? I mean, did they just have sky cranes? I mean, look at the building there. And of course, we see General Electric. It's like they built the building over it. Maybe not. Maybe not, Random FX. Good point. This is one we don't see too often. And then these images, and now it seems as though they've gotten a little smaller, but we saw images where they're much larger. So it's as though, oh, well, we increased in technology so then we could miniaturize them. Hey, there's the man, the myth, the legend himself. Good old Edison. Invented all to include his own form of Portland cement. Paul Bunyan, good one, Sky Sage. It's just the term they give to him, Tony. I mean, now we call them philanthropists or we call them oligarchs, depending on what news you watch and who we're talking about. Mm. Yeah. Only he's putting his in his pocket. And I'm glad you brought that up, Rebecca, because I was thinking I knew several Army officers, and one thing they were always keen on is they would say, don't put your hands in your pockets. So feel good that the modern United States Army does not let you put your hands in your pocket. Yeah, or just somebody they credited to, and then they invented this or told this very unique, dramatic story that we all sucked up. So who knows for sure? Because even by then, things were rather interesting. Yes, he was one of those magical polymaths, Sky Sage, a person who was an expert in everything, to include cement. Yeah, primarily. I think that's the last one. Oh, here's that old patent drawing we have for it. Because that's all you need. Let's go build one. And do I have anything else? Oh, so this is actually from a dam in Wisconsin, and this shows how these generators have progressed over time. Yeah, my thoughts exactly, Celeste. My thoughts exactly. And retain that, whatever you do, villain. But what do you think of how these particular generators look? Now, this is in a dam in Wisconsin. This is an official Wisconsin Energy's photo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They got numbers on them. 6 or 7. Now, supposedly these were one of the first ones that ran on coal. This is a 1920s picture, at least that's what I'm told. Don't know if I trust that, but sharing that with y'all. Well, there may be a lot more going on, Adam. A lot more than that. Got some explorations coming up. We're going to consider some other accounts to include different realities. Things get a little more complicated then. Yeah, that's right, Sky Sage. And we still have one more monument to explore, too. The 3 big monuments of the United States. We've looked at Rushmore, Statue of Liberty. We've got one more. That's what we're told they are. You're absolutely right, Celeste. They could really be anything. Originally. All right. Next ones. What do you think about looking at some computers? Because, we all love computers. And we'll go to the original computer. Here it comes. Bingo. Does anybody know what we're looking at? No, it's not a hand dryer, not this one. Before, yeah, full body dryers. You just stand in under them. Yeah, this is a little pre 1800s. You're absolutely right, Chassis. At least so we're told. Ah, a Nokia. Bingo. Antikythera machine. We're told this is the first mechanical computer found in the water in Greece. And we're told it was used for navigation of ships, a mechanical computer. Now, they do try to give us different representations of what it looks like. Is this really what it looked like? I don't know. Is this just a wheel and they tried to present this to us? But it is intriguing to me, though, that the mainstream is telling us that we had this kind of technology. Yeah, and I think you're probably more accurate there, Isaac, and maybe they were just looking to mislead us again. Oh, good one. Yeah, first Rolex. Yep, that's right. Star patterns. Shoot those star patterns. And that's what the full account tells us, quantum paradox. That's the oldest computer. And then they give us this little mock-up to show us, yes, it kind of looks something like this, which doesn't really look anything like what we just looked at. So you get the feeling they're trying to mislead us a little bit. Now, I show this image because this is what computers were in the 1800s. It tended to be some person, typically a woman, who would work on making calculations. And in fact, that's how they said they found the variable sequence stars to determine parallax and let us know that stars are many light years away because of a computer, a human computer. No, not a Mentat from Dune. This is what they said they used. Hang in there, hang in there. We're almost through it, Beer Snob. You can always go back and rewatch it. Yeah, one heck of a rusty hard disk, that's for sure. And here we have the original computer. Charles Babbage, who in the 1800s, again from England, invented the first mechanical computer. Completely analog, no digital. And then we worked our way up. This is the Colossus. Quite an apparatus, isn't it? Imagine if you had this in your living room. Yep. I always think it's interesting to look at how we've been told this story, especially when we consider how far we've come. But then when technology seems to leap, but then it stagnates. So we go from this 1920s, 1930s, and 100 years later, bam, your computer's in your little cell phone. Exactly. Ah, well, that's what the mainstream account says, Pete. And we know we can't question them because bad things happen when we do. Okay, right there. Rebecca's got it. It changes every time you look at it, Rebecca. Who invented it? How it came about? What the capabilities of it were? Why it really hasn't advanced further recently? ENIAC. Oh yeah, doesn't this look like a joy? Ballistic Research Laboratory for the U.S. Army. Supposedly the first big American one. Oh yeah. Another individual who is definitely on about that. Yeah, I think so. Well, and what's funny, Chassis, is they say they had better capabilities with the original analog computers because remember, that actually sent a crewed mission to the moon, a feat that we haven't been able to replicate since the 70s. But not because we can't, it's because we opt not to, okay? Just because you can't do something, or I mean, just because you don't want to do something doesn't mean you can't do something. So just remember that. Conrad Zeus made a cameo appearance in Tron, the second one. Here's his computer, the Z3. This was the first digital computer, whatever the heck that means. I mean, yeah, it'll be defined. Here's the Zeus Z1. So this is the later model. Look, you just punch it all in right there. Germans at it again. And then the earlier model. Well, yeah, you just need an analog computer. Yeah, exactly, Stephanie. Imagine having this doozy down in your living room. Here's your computer. Tends to be the case. Remember the Cray supercomputer? No, I didn't get an image of that. So it's funny though when you think about how the origin and what we have for the official account of computers came about. So we went from that to our little cell phones now. But remember, we just don't want to go to the moon. We could do it very easily, easier than we could in the 60s and the 70s, but let's not talk about that. Oh, how about that? Yeah, the one they tore down. The other two are still standing, but funny they tore down the one in Mount Pleasant. Governor Branstad's work in the early 2000s. Okay, well, that's all I got for computers, so I think we've got one more series of images. And I figured we would just take a look at our account of how we progressed in flying. These are early flying machines, concepts that we're told. You'd think it should, right, beer snob? Well, are they, May May? I mean, are they? Yeah, I figured you'd like this, Pete. Now, I show this because of the whole concept of dragons and dragons being a flying device. And then, of course, we have the Targaryens. And I think it was UAP channel that looked into that a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Just have fun flying over them. Exactly. Let's get a couple others. Little airship here. This is from the Final Fantasy series. Yeah, I'll admit I played it back in the day. I'm not ashamed to admit it. It's for you, Jamie. It's for you. Oh, yeah, ornithopters from Dune. That is one thing I'll say they depicted well in the new movie. You know, if I'm going to say something nice about it, I like the depiction of the ornithopters. Everything else, though, with its brutalist architecture and its plaid colors, kind of makes me wish I was going back and watching Sicario again. I don't know. My humble opinion, he should have stuck to those kind of movies. Old Denis Villeneuve, Frenchy. Nothing against the French, but goodness gracious. Yeah. And maybe that's exactly what inspired it, Quantum Paradox. Yep, you're right, Sean. It's a mainstay of the series. Well, you could always get an NES and play the original one, you know, and get an emulator. I always like their designs. Yep, without a doubt. Now, this is supposedly the very first airship. This was in France. And so, you know, now I'm going to say something really nice about the French. What we have about the French, the official account says, you know, they had the wonderful architects, but then they also had the first airship. Also, the early balloons, although that technology came from China. Who knows for sure? Yeah, he sure did, didn't he? I'm glad you said that, Random. I got to read Terry Brooks again. I like that series. Yeah, it sure did, didn't it, I Am Kairos? That was another positive thing to say about it. Although, remember in David Lynch's version, they actually showed cymatic weapons. Remember the weirding modules? To me, those kind of represent cymatic weapons. In good time, Jamie. Maybe you'll work your way up to it. Another image of one of these little one-person airships. We've looked at these quite a bit. But this is a bit of a unique one. Here we have one with a bit of a plane device. Supposedly, this is a real photo. I don't know. Yep, that's right. And it's always going to be Kyle MacLachlan to me. Okay, that's just how I see it. Nothing against Timothy Chalamet, but you know, it's always going to be Kyle. That's just what I grew up with. Uh-oh, I dated myself. Yep, that's right. Yeah, I think that was when 2 came out, actually. I agree. He just really seemed to fit the part very well, especially the transformation the character went through. So, yeah, I agree, Quantum, but I'll still consider it regardless. I think sometimes they are, and it's important to be aware of that. So we'll leave off on the good depiction of another one from the Final Fantasy series because even though it's artwork and it's from a game, for some reason it looks a little bit more real. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I do have a few bonus images I'm going to share just for the heck of it. And these are ones that I just really couldn't classify as anything. I just thought I would share them with you before we close the live stream for the evening. And what do you think of that? Well, we'll go build one, Jamie. We'll call Pete, grab some parts from the F-117, have it ready to go. I certainly have, Adam. I certainly have. Great movie, too. Good old post-apocalyptic / reset movie. Mark Hamill even voices the character of Sean in it. Yeah, I figured you'd be all about it. It is actually a good movie. Old Bakashi again. Yeah, we could build one that could fit more, I think. Yeah, I'm not sure. It seems like it's an old chalice, and I think of the Grail and what that was supposed to represent. Or it could be a bracelet too. Awesome. Well, who needs a license in our world, right? You know, you just need the skill to do it. And I'm sure you've got the skill. Speaking of Ark of the Covenant or representation of it, see these in a lot of tombs. Oh, yeah, good one, Adam. Absolutely. Well, you know, I've got a driver's license, but can I still effectively drive? Well, some people might argue on that one, but oh yeah, there's all kinds of theories that go along with that one, Random FX. Yeah, and it probably is just a plain bowl if we go off of what it really was. Who knows? Oh yeah. Another one of these very elaborate monstrances, supposedly. But they don't classify it as such. Again, very intriguing, very ornate. Oh yeah. Hey, warrior class, good to see you. Oh yeah, that one comes up a lot. Can never get enough. And then this is the last one. What do you think of this? A little bit of an ominous tone to end the live stream on. But you know me, I don't avoid things that are controversial or ominous. A grill? Yeah. My voice is shot. I'm not doing any impressions right now, so. Yep, exactly. That's what we'll be told. But is that what really comes from it? What does it represent? What is this? Is this technology? Is this really just some sort of display device? Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll take a close look. What do we have in there? Mm-mm-mm. Older symbol there. What have we got on the bottom? Really intriguing. And I wonder who is that that's really in there. Could never escape TV, right, Julia? Yeah, and these are some of the images that we see. Well, who knows? You know, just showing this, this might get classified for the older audience. I don't know, but that's okay. Yeah, I don't wonder on that one, Quantum Paradox. I don't wonder. And remember, we have all of those massive underground burial chambers, all those catacombs that have all those very clean skulls in them. So where exactly did it come from? Or it could be propaganda. Yeah, there you go. Templar talking head. Well, and that's what gets me about it is that it looks like it's another display, just like the catacombs are. Let's be honest. The catacombs are a display. It looks like a trophy case to me, a la the Predator, you know? You're showing off these skulls, you're cleaning them off. This is showing off a trophy, a victory. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah. Good one, Rebecca. And maybe that's exactly where that scene is derived from, Jamie. The Yorick scene. I still remember that Tales from the Crypt episode where the guy was trying to get the acting gig and it turned out they just wanted to use his skull to play Yorick. Yeah, that show was really morbid too. As morbid as it comes. So, anyway, well, I hope you enjoyed this exploration of technology photos. We'll definitely come back to this. There's a lot more to look at. Hey, Scottish Shark, good to see you. Yep, and that's what it looks like, and that's what we'll be told. But in any event, we'll come back and we've got some more technology that we're going to be looking at. And oh gosh, you really had to go there, didn't you? Yeah, I don't wonder on that count myself. All right, well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I will get these images posted on Reddit as usual. And please hit the like button before you take off. And I appreciate all your support on the channel. Probably going to have a little bit of a programming break for a little bit of a change. There's some things that I'm upgrading and updating, but keep your eyes open. There are not going to be any more live streams, though, for the rest of this month, but we'll get back to them soon enough. There's just some updates I need to make, and I've been putting stuff off a little too long. So, going to try to improve things and see if that continues to take us the right direction. So, anyway, I appreciate you all joining me, and it has been a wonder looking at this, and I appreciate your feedback and your input as always. And remember, it always helps me shape my impressions and my theories going forward. And so that's what it's all about. And it's always a blast to see someone like I am Kairos here. And so please show up, come on in, give us your opinion, let us know what you think. And really, I don't dismiss anything. If you want to try pushing the mainstream or saying something about the mainstream is correct, give us a good explanation. We'd love to hear it. So, anyway, well, I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. And if you're in the Midwest United States, enjoy the warm up coming soon. Have a good one. This is Lucius Aurelian signing off.